Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's up, Cavs fans? Welcome into an emergency edition of the Block the Shot to Stop. Here with Tim Daniel, I am Kevin Lynch, and we are here to publicly address the news of our beloved Ty Jerome, better known as TJ Maxx, is no longer a Cleveland Cavalier. He is a Memphis Grizzly, signed late last night, 3 years, $28 million. And Tim, I think we all kind of found this out at the same time. You know, group text went a little crazy, but for everybody here, like, what were your initial thoughts when you first saw that news come across your screen?
So when I first saw he was signing with Memphis, I didn't see the financials at first, and I went, okay, that makes sense. And then I saw the financials and went, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that why didn't Cleveland do that?
Yeah.
And what I'm, to further my point in a sense is he's making less AAV than Sam Merrill. And you and I know we're going to get into a deep Sam Merrill conversation at some point in the show. But I felt like between the two, I would have kept Ty. Even if I got Lonzo Ball, I still would have kept Ty between the two. And that's not a knock on Sam Merrill. I don't have an issue with Sam Merrill coming back. But if I could have got Ty Jerome for what he signed with Memphis, then I thought it was a no-brainer. And you can tell me all you want about the playoffs and what all he did in the Indiana series, how he couldn't play. He had 2 bad games. If you go back and look at the box scores, if you watch the film, he had 2 games where he looked really bad. Rest of the series, he was actually pretty solid. The Miami series, he was really, really good. Right. So you can't throw the playoffs at me here as a defense because he did what he could in the playoffs, and it wasn't his fault that he was out Mobley a game. Darius Garland was out a couple of games. We know he's better with having one of those big guards. That was yours and mine emphasis throughout the whole postseason. It's like 2 of those 3 guards have to be on the court at all times. Mm-hmm. And they were in a situation where they had to play Mitchell or Jerome. So what is your selling point right now on not keeping Ty Jerome and bringing in Lonzo Ball, who I'm not anti-bringing in Lonzo Ball. I want to make sure I say that by all means. Like, I don't hate it. I know you aren't as in love with it, and I understand
I'm anti bringing Lonzo Ball, but
yeah. But also now it's like, okay, what's the plan? Because it feels like they're big swinging for a certain trade, and I know I've alluded to this on the internets, but it almost feels like the coincidence of everything going on. Are they really trying to get LeBron James one more time?
All right, setting that aside, it's like going back to Ty. I completely agree with just about everything you said, especially the part about the playoffs and saying you're not bringing him back because he had a bad series against Indiana, or you said just really 2 really bad games. Because if that was the case, then you would oust half this team.
Correct.
Correct. So I don't think it's fair at all to scapegoat Ty for that Indiana series. There's a whole lot that went wrong in that series. He was one of the reasons, but certainly not the only one or the biggest, in my opinion. And I am completely aligned with you in the sense that we had resigned ourselves to losing Ty Jerome, but the reasons we were is because he was going to get like the full mid-level exception, a lot of money, for $14 million over 3 or 4 years. And he was going to go somewhere where he'd have more opportunity to start, increase playing time. Everybody knows he only played 20 minutes a game last year and was amazing in that time, but maybe the reason he didn't win 6th Man of the Year is simply the minutes per game. But he's not getting either of those things in Memphis. He is for sure not going to start, assuming Ja Morant's healthy. Even if Ja Morant isn't, and if you want to pull up our graphic, we'll get straight to it. The Memphis Grizzlies have Scottie Pippen Jr., who had a breakout season last year. Like really not quite as good as Ty, but really, really good season that the 2 of these guys could be competing for, the first guard off the bench minutes. And so the fact that Ty went to a team where he took a little over half the money we thought he was going to get and not have an opportunity for increased playing time. You can make a strong argument he'd have more opportunity in Cleveland because Garland's going to miss half the season. Right. And
Lonzo's probably going to miss.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Lonzo might get hurt on his way to Cleveland, but yeah, this one doesn't make any sense at all to me. The three moves that the Cavs have made this offseason, I would be fine with any of them, but the three of them in a row, the trading Okoro for Lonzo Ball, re-signing Sam Merrill at the price you did, and then letting Ty Jerome walk, the three of those sequentially do not make sense at all.
Yeah, especially when you're watching what everyone in the East is doing around you.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes it even harder. So you look at old friend Karis LeVert going to Detroit. I mean, now you're going to see him 4 times. And if you looked at his numbers, he was really good for the Hawks down stretches after the trade. So now you lose that guy who could have been a part of your team. And I understand moving on from him. That's not what I'm saying here.
Sure.
But we're now looking at the situation where we're just trying to figure out what the game plan is. Like if Dan Gilbert and Kobe Altman and Kenny Atkinson do a presser and they're like, hey, like we tried to get Jerome back. He just felt like he could play somewhere else. Sure. But on paper, it doesn't look like that. Now, I'll bring this up again just so I make sure. Like Ty Jerome was better than Scottie Pippen Jr. last year. And Memphis is bringing a new coach. Taylor Jenkins obviously got fired during the season. So maybe their game plan is that they're going to use Jerome more than Pippen. I would suspect that was the case. But I don't think your point is incorrect in that same point. I just don't know because like they bring 2 completely different dynamics to the floor. Like Jerome's a much better scorer, but Pippen's a better playmaker. I think they're about even defensively. I think Pippen probably grades out a little better. And Jerome's obviously a little bigger than him. But other than that, like, why are you letting him go to Memphis and why is he going to Memphis? Otherwise, like, Brooklyn wouldn't have been a good situation for Ty Jerome where he could get the ball as much as he wants, especially now they're going to Michael Porter Jr. I don't know, man. I feel disappointed. Like you said, I fully accept that there was a very good chance in like December, Ty Jerome would not be a Cleveland Cavalier in the 25-26 season. I just didn't think it would go down the way it did.
Yeah. And kind of getting back to, the strongest impression anyone ever makes is the last impression, right? People say it's the first, but it's the last. And Ty Jerome was amazing for 75 games or so that he played. And then the last, 3 or 4 were not good at all. And so just people hanging on to that, like it's very nitpicky to hang on to that and everything. And I'll fully admit, I think there are some matchups that Ty Jerome is not good for. He's unfortunately not one of those players who you play him in every series, every game as much as you can, and he's going to excel. He is a little bit of a niche player. Like I'm completely fine with that. But he proved along the season, his niche is very big. It's just in the playoffs against uber athletic defenders, he struggled. And that is what it is. Like if nothing else, it would make total sense to bring Ty back at that number $9 million a year for the first half of the season to for Garland. And then if you have to trade him or, do other moves at the deadline, this again makes no sense to me. And we're going to transition to Sam Merrill in a minute because the Sam Merrill news, while a different transaction directly relates to this, the Cavs clearly decided we're only keeping one of these guys and we choose Sam. And I can see a little bit of an argument for that, but I think the same arguments you'd make against Ty, you can make against Sam in the sense that Sam Merrill didn't kill it against the Indiana Pacers. Right. Sam Merrill is kind of a niche player who you can't play in every matchup. He's not starter quality. He's a good guy off the bench to have. And, it's just very suspicious to me, like that you would have, if you had these two options to come back at the same price. And let's not make a mistake. Ty Jerome was cheaper because he took one less year and basically the same per year. So Ty Jerome's contract would be better. And I think he's the better player too. So yeah, 100%. I don't know, man, having a hard time with this one. And if your reasoning is you're bringing in Lonzo Ball, who literally has had experimental surgery on his knee, has only played 30-something games in 3 NBA seasons. If that is like your argument for we don't need Ty Jerome because they're bringing in this guy, that falls pretty flat for me.
I'm with you. And I like Lonzo a little more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And still, in the sense that I would have been just fine if Lonzo Ball was the third point guard.
Yeah.
Like, been just content with that. But now we're looking at a situation where not only are the Cavs going to need Lonzo Ball to be their second point guard, there's going to be a stretch that they're going to need him to be their first. And I heard what LeVar said on ESPN Cleveland, and he's already like throwing shade at Darius Garland. So that's really fun too, that we already have this dilemma.
Yeah.
But I don't know what, like, the Cavs got to do something now. I mean, like, I like Tyrese Proctor, but we just talked about this. They should not be relying on Tyrese Proctor this year.
No.
If they are, we are in a lot of trouble. And I think too, the other thing that's kind of, maybe they're just not used to it since the LeBron era, but let's be honest, Kev, like between Milwaukee's injuries, which is now null and void, Indiana's injuries, Boston's injuries, the Cavs were the team that was going to be hunted in the East.
Mm-hmm.
You and I had conversations on why we don't think they're the favorite in the East at that time. Teams are gutting to beat them because they're the 64-win team. And now they're the ones sitting on their hands while everyone around them is getting better and improving their rosters, while they're just like, we're waiting on, I don't know, they're not getting DeAndre Ayton, nor should you want DeAndre Ayton, just so we're clear. So like, what, are we just going to bring Tristan Thompson back? And that's that third big we've been counting on, so you can play 27 games. Like, I don't know where they're going.
Yeah. And I'm going to pull this graphic up on the screen. Kind of in the argument about Sam Merrill. Again, we don't dislike Sam Merrill.
No, not one bit.
We dislike kind of the decisions the Cavs have made that they prioritize him over Ty Jerome and the contract they gave him. So Gary Trent Jr. last night re-signed with the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think he's a pretty good comp, and you could honestly argue that he's a better player. He's certainly a more established player than Sam Merrill, a little bit better on the defensive end. You see these, you see the numbers here. Gary Trent Jr. signed for 2 years, $7 million. Sam Merrill got 4 years, $38 million. It's literally triple per year and an extra two years on the contract. So if that's the mark, it seems like the Cavs, honestly, I think the Cavs might have panicked and signed Sam Merrill before free agency opened, before the market was really established. Yeah. Because there's no way someone on the open market would pay Sam Merrill the contract he got after Gary Trent Jr. just signed for 2 years, $7 million. So to me, this kind of screams overplay, miscalculation, whatever other words you want to use. I mean, am I off base, Tim, or did you kind of think the same thing as all the free agent news was coming out last night?
It feels like a panic button-y move. It feels like it was like, oh no, we might lose Sam Merrill. And now I would not be shocked if Kobe Altman and Kuro in the front office, like, crap, we could have brought him back for a little less than we did. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's the nature of the beast. And I love Sam. Like you said, like, I think Sam's a really good guy. We just talked about this on our last episode where I went to bat on him for how well he played in the Celtics series 2 years ago, mm-hmm. when they did lose in 5. So I don't think Sam's a guy you can't play in the playoffs. I just think that if you're in a situation where the way the playoffs works, where it's like a lot of ISO defense and it's a lot of out athleting, you downgraded the athlete situation there. And not that Gary Trent Jr. is a world-class athlete by any means, but would he have been a little nicer to have in a postseason probably than Sam Merrill, as far as a guy you can just put in front of someone to guard? Like, yeah, ask Milwaukee about that. Ask Toronto about that. So ask Portland. Yeah.
And that's my problem. And we won't regurgitate it all the way, but since we talked about it on the last episode, but the Cavs haven't got any better at their biggest weakness, which is perimeter defense. It actually gotten worse. The other thing that they've gotten worse at is playmaking. Ty Jerome at times was the best playmaker on this team last year.
Correct.
And might have been, other than when Mitchell's on, like he was so good in the pick and roll last year. So, I think your biggest weakness is becoming more of a weakness, and you're creating a weakness kind of at the head of the snake. Like, playmaking in the NBA is like that, and 3-point shooting are the things that people value the most. And Sam is an excellent 3-point shooter, but he doesn't play make at all. And he's a guy, you know, when we talked about in the playoffs, the one common theme of the teams that advanced in the playoffs last year was like super athletic, good wing defenders. That was it. Minnesota has that. OKC, Indiana, the Knicks all have that. Those are maybe the 4 best perimeter defense teams. Cavs just got worse. They traded whatever you think about him. Isaiah Core was their best perimeter defender, and they traded him away. And now they prioritize bringing back a guy who I think Sam is, I would say, an underrated defender because everybody thinks he's a weak defender, but I think he's fine, like average, you know. And so I'm having a problem with with the math making sense, Tim.
This is where the hypothetical Lonzo Ball makes sense, but to your point, the hypothetical, what I mean is he going to be on the floor? Because even in those 35 games last year that he played, and his shooting numbers weren't there, he still was a really good playmaker. He still was a really good defender. Do I trust him more than Isaac Okoro right now? No. Mm-hmm. But do I think he could be a really good on-ball perimeter defender again like he was when he was playing basketball? For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's something the Cavs are betting on. It's just a risky bet.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So we've kind of addressed the 3 moves they've made in the offseason. This is where I wanted the last conversation I wanted to have about all this. What do you think, like speculate at what other moves are going to make this offseason outside of, we know they're going to sign whatever big man will sign for a minimum deal. Like we know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But outside of that, do you think that's the only other thing that happens this offseason? Do you think they're trying to do something else that will make these 3 moves make a little bit more sense? Like what's your spidey sense telling you, Tim?
Ooh, nice. Do they have a choice? They have to. I mean, the game plan has to be something bigger than this. And as we're literally talking in this exact moment, Kevin, Gary Harris just signed with the Milwaukee Bucks. Also probably would have been a decent Cavs guy off the bench for what it's worth. But there has to be something bigger than that. And I know I joked about maybe they really are getting LeBron James. I'm like 60% joking. I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm not like really going to like speculate that's the case. With that being said, there has to be something else that comes into play. And I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know what's out there at this point. Everyone's signing so quickly, you know, like I don't think
it would be a trade at this point. I think there's nobody else on the open market that completely changes the Cavs dynamic or in any kind of significant way.
Yeah. Cause like if you're losing Ty Jerome for the money you're losing him, you could have signed Jake LaRavia what the Lakers signed him for. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying Jake LaRavia is this amazing upgrade or that he's better than Ty Jerome, but he's at least like a pillow, a cushion for what you're losing there. And as far as like a wing shooter who can kind of give you a little extra boost in your offense in the second unit, but you know, you're letting him walk. You're letting Gary Harris go to your division rival. Not that I thought the Cavs were going to sign Miles Turner, but you just watched Miles Turner destroy you in the playoffs. Jared Allen didn't have a chance on him. Mm-hmm. So what's your thought process now that he's playing alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo to match the Cleveland 2 big situation?
Yeah, it stinks because when the finals ended, I thought the Cavs can't be in a better position. The East is decimated. You know, the Jason Tatum injury, Dame Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton. All that happens, and the Cavs were still the number 1 team in the regular season. I was like, they do a little bit of tweaking, they could run away with the East, even more so next year than they did, and set themselves up really well. And I think the opposite has happened. The Cavs have come back to the pack where I don't even know that they're going to be the favorite in the East anymore. I speculated with you, they could drop as far as like number 4 in the favorites going into the season, depending on what else happens. I think the Magic have made a few great moves.
Jones is such a great get for them.
The Knicks have made a couple of really good moves in bringing back, you know, all their significant pieces. Atlanta or Houston has had the best. Those have been 2 best off seasons. I really like everything Atlanta's doing. So, you know, and all this while the Cavs are kind of sitting on their hands and frankly getting worse. I mean, if you from last year's team, you subtract Isaiah Okoro and Ty Jerome, and then you bring in Lonzo Ball, like if that's it, like you're worse. And I think kind of significantly worse, especially on the bench than they were last season. So I'm with you. I feel like there has to be something else coming. And for me, I'm targeting the teams with either the teams that are going to go into next season, not trying to win, or the teams who have an abundance of what the Cavs need the most. And that's like, long athletic perimeter guys. So Houston is, like I said, had the great offseason they have. They might have too many guys, and they might have to unload, a guy or two off of their bench. I would look at them. I would look at, I don't even know who's on Brooklyn's team anymore, but I know
they don't either.
Yeah, I know they're certainly going to be a team not looking to compete next year. And I would have said New Orleans, but the fact that New Orleans just traded their number one pick in like the dumbest trade I've ever seen, I assumed they were going to try and tank next year, but now without their first round pick, they have no reason to tank. And because
they got Kevon Looney.
Yeah, I'm on record as saying, the two guys I would target the most if I were the Cavs are Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. And just because I love doing trades with the dumb teams. There's like 6 or 7 just dumb teams in the NBA. And anytime you can do a trade with them, like you're doing good business for the most part. And so, but honestly, Tim, I fear this is about it. And they're going to take the stance of, we're going to run it back. It'll be good enough for the regular season. And if we have to do something, we'll do it at a trade deadline, which I'm not saying it wouldn't work. I'm just saying, I don't love it.
I'm with you. For the record, I understand what you're saying. I still think the Cavs are better than the Hawks, even with the moves they've been making. I think that the Cavs' top heaviness of the core 4 guys is better than Trae Young, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so on and so forth. I don't
disagree. I'm more thinking,
but I get what you're saying. As far as after that, it gets scary.
I'm more thinking if they match up in the playoffs, Atlanta looks a lot like Indiana did last year. Honestly, probably more talented version of Indiana last year, especially with Tyrese Halliburton out. So I think they're going to be a horrible matchup for the Cavs, I think is more what I'm saying than anything.
That's fair. So there are names, I'm looking at Spot Check right now, that I think right now could help the Cavs if it's not a trade. Depending if, the financials, I think right now, like Chris Boucher from Toronto, I'm sure is a mid-level guy they could possibly get with that spot as far as being that third big. I think he'd be a nice fit. Larry Nance Jr. obviously is a name that's always going to come up. I know Skylar and I were like going to the moon for him. Al Horford apparently has gotten contacted by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you can 1,000% sell me on Al Horford playing for this team next year.
100%.
So I think there's going to get a guy. One, because they don't have a choice, and two, Jonas Valanciunas just got traded to Denver, and I didn't really want him in the first place.
No, me neither.
But yeah, they better do it now. I do not want to have Kevin. I would be just fine bringing back Tristan Thompson to be our Udonis Haslem. Just be like a mascot. Yeah. I do not want DeAndre Jordan playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers because he was the last person available. I do not want that.
Right. I'm with you, man. Okay, we'll wrap it here because we're just being mad online. So we'll wrap it here. And here's hoping our next emergency pod is over something that we really like that happened. Yes, for sure. So I'm getting text messages from my work. My coworker Tara Menke just asked, "What am I doing?" I'm recording a podcast on my lunch break, Tara. That's what I'm doing. So for Tara, for Tim Daniel, for our missing Skylar Webker, who's actually, working today. I am Kevin Lynch. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Block, the Shot, the Stop. And as always,
go Cavs.